They called me a terrorist. How funny, hilarious.
You face discrimination.
Because no, Palestinians cannot look educated and beautiful and well-spoken. She must be American, she must be Italian, she must be Egyptian. Like, there were times where we were taking like group photos and she kept chasing me with the Israeli flag and trying to take a picture beside me. Like, she was complaining about them writing that she is an IOF soldier, a previous IOF soldier, and she said, this is compromising to me. Actually, Palestinians are proud of Marwan Barghouti, and the world sees him as a peace symbol. So what they really did is they just opened a door for me to speak about another cause of ours. So thank you.
In 2025, and for the first time since the creation of the Miss Universe pageant in 1952, Palestine was represented. That's where Nadeen Ayoub comes in. She became the first Miss Palestine to ever compete at Miss Universe, held this year in Thailand. But this year's pageant was also marked by controversy, from judges resigning, to contestant walkouts, to allegations of vote rigging. There's a lot that happened, and beyond the pageant itself, Nadeen faced a wave of attacks in the media and online, targeting her identity, her family, and the fact that she was representing Palestine on that stage. And this is exactly what we're about to get into with Nadeen. So let's get started. My name is Mohamed Hashem, and this is Real Talk. And she joins us from Amman, Jordan, Nadeen Ayoub. Thank you so much for coming on Real Talk. It's such a pleasure to speak to you today.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to have this talk with you.
Nadeen, there's so much that we're going to get into. I think just the fact that the Miss Universe pageant had, for the first time since 1952, had Palestine represented, had a Miss Palestine on that stage. But it's interesting because even when you had that label, when you had that title, the title of Miss Palestine, and for, the first time representing Palestine at Miss Universe, it was still trying to be taken away from you, right? It was your critics were like, it's the Palestinian that was born in the U.S., or it's the Canadian, or the Palestinian that lives in Dubai, or whatever it is. There was never really a full acceptance of the fact that you were just simply Miss Palestine. We're really going to unpack all of this together, but I genuinely want to have an insight into how you've been kind of reflecting on all of this since it's been over.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey since I announced, and there is definitely so much to unpack and so many things I realized on the way. And like us Palestinians, we know that there's discrimination and there's a lot of things that happen, against our identity or existence, and even wanting to just express ourselves, even in something as simple as a beauty competition. I didn't expect there to be that much of an outrage over representing Palestine, because the way I was representing anyways was about the dreams that we had, aspirations. It was to represent women and children and people there that just want to live and innovate. And you know aside from the suffering and the pain that we're seeing on the headlines, but it's like, it made me feel that, they're not okay with us talking about our suffering and pain, and they're also not okay with us talking about our aspirations and dreams and wanting to be represented in a different light. So it's like, what do they want? And from the beginning, it was like they wanted to discredit me, or to take away the identity that I had, which is Palestinian, by saying that I'm also American, or actually they didn't say I'm also American. They said that I'm Italian Egyptian. And
Really? I missed that one. I missed the Italian
oh
Egyptian
yeah,
part. I saw
that
the
was
American, the Canadian.
no,
I
no,
missed
no.
the
They
Italian
were
part.
saying, yeah, they were saying that my mom is Italian and my father is Egyptian. And they were really going with that and saying that I was born in
Are
this.
you about to drop that surprise right now, Nadeen?
Oh yeah, see, I'm Italian and Egyptian, guys. Like, yeah, that's it. Okay, but there's a huge contradiction here. So how am I Italian and Egyptian? And then at the same time, there's other allegations that they that they said
Right.
about me, that I was in Palestine and I was this and I was,
Right.
they said a lot of like
But
negative things about me in terms of being a
yeah,
Palestinian.
and I know we're making light of it, making jokes and stuff, but what do you think pissed those people the most about you? Why is it that so many people were voicing their opinion on who you are, or who you should be, or how you should carry yourself? Like, why was there so much opinion on your identity?
Simply because um they have a certain character that they have of what a Palestinian should be, that feeds their narrative and that helps their narrative that we are not humans, that we deserve to die, or Palestinians are violent or barbaric. And this image helps their narrative that we should not exist, simply. And the way that I represented and my character was so different. It did not fit that character, that box that they try to put Palestinians in. It was about beauty, resistance with softness, with beauty, with talking about our culture and our heritage. And it was in such a different way that they weren't really able to characterize me as, where do we fit this Palestinian? Okay, she's not the Palestinian that is the perfect victim and crying about the suffering and the pain, even though I have some suffering and I have faced many obstacles and challenges with being Palestinian. So she's not that Palestinian where we can just see her as a victim and and dehumanize her through that narrative. And she's also not the Palestinian that is helping the whole narrative of that they're trying to make, that we are violent and we are barbaric. I'm a beauty queen at the end of the day, and very far from the image of barbarism that they have used endless times to justify their barbaric acts. And so that really pissed them off. Like, where do we put her? Like, what character? Where would we put her in the narrative to take the identity of Palestinian people? Because no, Palestinians cannot look educated and beautiful and well spoken. She must be American. She must be Italian. She must be Egyptian. She must be this or that. Must be everything except Palestinian.
Did you anticipate the attacks on your Palestinianhood when you announced that you were going to be participating?
Look, I knew it was something huge because it's the first time in history Palestine is being represented.
Yeah.
I don't think I expected the extent to how far they would go with, like,
Right.
especially as I said, like, they were saying I'm Italian and Egyptian and like God knows what, and it was just a lot of anger.
You at least thought that they would accept your identity for who you were, at the very least,
At the
as
very
the bare
least, at
minimum.
the very least, like,
Yeah.
just, okay, yeah, she's Palestinian. Okay, you don't like me for whatever reason, but it's like they can't really put their finger on, why wouldn't you like me? What am I doing that's so horrible? I'm not doing anything that's wrong. I'm just a human being, a woman that is following my dreams and is speaking in a very positive way as well. Like, I'm speaking about innovation. There's a lot of people from their side saying that Palestinians, they don't want to live. They just care about violence, or they just care about, you know, not liking us or wanting horrible things to happen to them. Um, but okay, so when a Palestinian does come and they are, you know, they're not that, shouldn't they be celebrating that or happy about that if they truly believe their narrative that we only care about violence?
But
So
then that narrative was placed on you as well, and we're gonna get into it a little bit
yeah,
later on.
yeah,
But the narrative of you relating to some sort of
because
violent
exactly.
background was
Yeah,
placed on you.
because they couldn't, the other narratives were just not working, and it almost felt like they kept like bringing out the cards of different narratives that have worked in the past. They have, like, I just imagine like they just have different narrative cards that work with characterizations of certain people and certain Palestinians for um whatever propaganda that they want to do. And they kept bringing out the cards, okay, and it didn't work because it's just not the truth. I've There's proof that I'm not Italian and Egyptian, that I'm fully Palestinian. I literally have pictures of my mother in her town, her village. And it's funny because my grandmother would always wear a Palestinian tobe wherever, and it's just so obvious that it's Palestine. And my mom,
Right.
there's this one
But it's
picture.
crazy that that you actually have to actively prove that, Nadine. That you have
See?
to be like, no, hey, look, this is my grandmother. Hey, look, this is my
Exactly.
mom.
They want to, here's the thing, like, I've realized is um it is part of the narrative to put us in a defensive mood or mode. Um to constantly have to prove ourselves takes a lot of our energy, and it takes it away from, like, being individuals that just want to focus on success and growth and innovation. And a huge part of society and economic growth of any community is innovation, is people is people growing themselves economically with their businesses, with their art, with whatever. That is literally how a society grows. And so when you take that away from people and you're putting them in survival mode, and you know that there's a hierarchy of needs that every human being has, right? You have like the basic needs, which is survival, and then you go into the wanting to be educated and wanting a little bit more, and then there's like a hierarchy, and then the last piece of this hierarchy is self-actualization, which when all of your needs are met as a human being, that's when you can actually go into this zone of self-actualization and trying to find your purpose above just survival. You go into more of a spiritual type of wanting to give to the world or accomplishment. And so when you this psychology is known, and I think that that's something understood by whoever is creating this propaganda. And I believe that
And you
the
studied psychology, right?
yeah, I did. That's the thing, is like our basic needs, they taken it away from them, the basic human rights, um uh, needing to live, like simple things, simple basic human rights that that the international human rights organizations say that every human being should have. They've taken it away. So we put so much energy into survival, into defending ourselves, into justifying why am I a human? I have to justify why I deserve to live, why I deserve to be Palestinian, why I deserve, like, and we actually, a lot of us have gotten into this zone where we feel we need to do that. And this has taken away from our wanting to innovate and help our society to grow.
Let me actually flip this around, Nadeen, because you'll also have, I'm sure, and I'm sure this is something that you've been asked too, whether privately or publicly, but people be like, well, with everything that's happening in Gaza, the genocide and the killing and the devastation and the suffering that a lot of Palestinians in Gaza all of the Palestinians in Gaza have been going through, is this a time to be participating in something like a beauty pageant as a Palestinian? I mean, that's obviously such a heavy thing to balance and to think about and stuff. But I'm sure it's something that's come up. If it didn't come up
Yeah,
publicly, I'm sure it's come up in private conversations with
for
friends
sure.
or family. And so how do you approach something like that?
Well, after I have been to another international competition, and I've actually won a crown in it in
Miss Earth.
2022. Yeah, I won a Miss Earth crown. And after that, I was supposed to participate in Miss Universe like a year after. But because of the genocide in Gaza, I decided to postpone it because I didn't feel it was the right time then. I wanted to focus more of my energy on my foundation, my organization, in helping women and children and people in Palestine, with their survival, really, and medical needs, and focusing on establishing something sustainable in that way. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to continue, if I was even going to go to Miss Universe. And I felt in 2025, after a lot of time passed and I established a lot of things, that we have to be present on international platforms. We have to use our voices. We have to make sure that Palestine is on the map on every single stage, every single event, organization, and to speak our truth, to speak our identity in art, culture, sports, talent, music, in any way, any way, shape, or form. Palestine has to be there and to speak up. And these children in Gaza that lost their lives, and the millions of Palestinians that are displaced and suffering, uh, and suffering from also malnutrition and needing medical assistance. And there's so many ways that Palestinians suffer. These people also have dreams. They still want that. And I need to represent that. I have to represent that. And every single Palestinian that can represent should. And every single Palestinian has their way as well, right? We all have different opportunities. And I have the privilege as well. I have the privilege to travel, the privilege to go on international competitions. Of course, I worked very, very hard, and there were so many challenges I faced as a Palestinian. It's not easy. And I always say that with privilege comes responsibility, with power comes responsibility. And my responsibility in this is to raise the voice of Palestine.
You know, I heard you say something along the lines of that you don't want Palestinians to be known in a certain way. You know,
Mm.
you don't want Palestinians to be known just for the suffering. You know, Palestinians are much more than the suffering that they are enduring and they are being placed under. That you wanted to represent the beauty of the heritage, the beauty of the culture. That there's much more to celebrate about
For
Palestine.
sure. For sure. You know, there's one thing that someone in the one of the members of my international team said to me something that really resonated with me. And they said that what would the world lose if they lost Palestine? And this really got me thinking that people are relating to us based on really what we have in Palestine that is also symbols that represent things that they can relate to. And I realized that, you know, we're really being dehumanized in the media. And this has been
Yeah.
happening for a very, very long time. And that is why the other side justifies killing, justifies injustices, lack of human rights. Um, they use different terms for us versus them. Um, and they can justify that and just, change the narrative in the way that they see fit to continue their political agendas and ideologies. And I realized a big part of that is the dehumanization. And why are we being dehumanized? We're dehumanized because we are so focused on survival, so focused on fighting for our rights. And I don't want us to forget our identity and the beautiful parts of Palestine in this fight. This fight is important. It's important to keep talking about the suffering and the pain that Palestinians are facing because injustice is injustice. And without speaking about this and without movements to liberate Palestine, we're never going to get there. But at the same time, and in parallel, we need the people who can talk about the humanization of Palestinians through art, talent, culture to continue to talk about that. And not only that, but there's so many things about Palestine that I realize that the world doesn't know. Like we don't
Hmm.
know. I want there to be more spokespeople about the culture and our history because that's what's being erased. It's being erased also through occupying our personalities and our minds. I always felt that, especially during Miss Universe, it was almost like I'm fighting two battles. Like, okay, we are fighting the battle of like, wanting our land to be free and the right to live in our land. And then at the same time, we are fighting a battle of, it's almost like a personality occupation. Like they're occupying our identity even as individuals. Like even me as Nadeen, I felt occupied, like I'm not allowed to be a beauty queen and have talents and dreams. And so I try to balance these two things as well. So going back
That's an
to,
interesting take, Nadine.
yeah, yeah. So going back to the what my team member told me about what would Palestine lose, it got me thinking like, okay, people need to know a lot of things about Palestine. Like for example, Jericho. Jericho is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, the oldest city, and it's the lowest point on Earth. So, like, Mount Everest is the highest point, while Jericho is the lowest point on Earth. People don't know this, for example, this fact. So, shouldn't we be protecting, for example, one of the oldest towns in the world? Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Did you know that the Church of Secular, the people that have the keys for this church are two Muslim families? So the Christians actually gave the keys to two Muslim families to protect. That's how much trust Palestinians have for each other, regardless of religion. This is a proof how Palestinians are Muslims, Jewish people, and Christians living side by side since ancient civilizations, brothers and sisters, neighbors. So that's literally Jerusalem.
And
Um,
Jerusalem was presented on one of your dresses as well.
yeah,
There was a
yes,
dress that had the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the
yeah,
keys,
yeah.
the olive trees. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was really a message. This was a symbol that We are here, we coexist, and we've been here for a very long time. And this is the truth, and no one can deny that. That's the thing. No one can deny your history. So we need to keep talking about that. And I don't want us to just be in this character of defensiveness. We have to, of course, defend, but like we need to also in parallel be speaking about our history because that is where the truth lies.
Let me move to the Miss Universe pageant now, because that's something I
Yeah.
want to ask you about, because there's a lot that happened at that pageant.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of headlines that's come out, basically talking about some controversial things that happened, different things to different people.
Mhm.
But I want to start with your experience. I mean, what was happening in Thailand when you were there?
Oh my God, what was happening? What didn't happen?
What didn't happen?
What didn't happen? Like, where do I start? I was honestly like, every time something would happen, I was like, okay, this is enough, right? Like, there's not going to be any more. And then more happens. Like, it's like I felt like we were just in this like never ending cycle of like a weird like play. And then by the end, it's like it was already the finale, and then the play had ended, you know? And then you kind of connect the dots and you're like, that's why this happened, and that's why this happened. Like, whoa,
But just to be clear, Nadine, this wasn't your experience at Miss Earth, right? This
no,
isn't how pageants normally go.
no, no, no.
Because what we've been reading in the videos that were coming out, there's been like there was a contestant walkout, there's judges that resigned, there's contestants that
Yeah,
dramatically unfortunately fell off the stage. Like there was just so
goodness.
much
Oh my
going
goodness.
on.
Yeah, it was, for me, I think it really like, I know there was the story of like when Miss Mexico was being criticized by the organizer, right? And then she walked out. And I remember that was like the moment where everyone was like, what is going on? Because, okay, like I walked out, obviously. Like I support women. No woman should be criticized. No woman should be put down. It's important that she spoke out. But then looking back, you kind of start thinking, like, wait, was this like, did this really happen? Like, was it, you start questioning, but why did the organizer choose her specifically to talk? Right? Like, because there were 122 contestants, and he was upset because not all of the girls were posting the sponsors that sponsored the event. I was one of them, by the way. I did not post all the sponsors. Like there were certain sponsors I just like didn't like. No, I'm not gonna be posting that. Like there was like one time they got this like weird pillow. Like why is there a pillow sponsor? It was just so weird. But I was like, I'm not gonna post that. Anyways, so this organizer, he was upset
I'm
about
just
that.
trying to picture you posting that as some
Like
sort of ad.
what?
It'd just be
Right?
so random.
Like that is so random, right? Anyways, so this organizer literally was like, a lot of you girls were not posting. Stand up, whoever did not post. And we're all kind of like, what? Like, why is he calling us out? This is really weird. And all of a sudden, he's like, Miss Mexico. Stand like he wanted her to stand up so he can criticize her. And then the cameras were literally there.
That's
Like it was like
crazy.
they were waiting for something to happen. Do you know what I mean?
It's
Like
like a reality show
it's
in a
like
way.
exactly. It was like, looking back, yeah, it was a reality show. And then she just started talking back and getting upset, and then she walked out. And it's like, and then I remember, like, I was like, okay, this is really weird. And I wanted to, and I got up to walk away. And then I remembered, like, she is also one of the CEOs, I think, of Miss Universe. She was a big, like, a big team member. And she was telling the girls, get up. You guys are okay with this happening? So it was very like looking back, I start to question like, was this orchestrated? Was it really like, was it genuine? Because after that, I just remember all of us were just feeling very uneasy and something so weird. And then it was like, a lot of the press started talking about this incident.
And it wasn't just that. It was also, like I said, the judges. There's
Yeah, the judges
allegations
then
of vote
resigning.
rigging.
Yeah, the judges resigning, saying that, it was already pre-selected and whoever is going to win, we already know who's going to win. The placements have already been made, even the top 30, the top 12, the top 5, it was already pre-selected. And then you heard so many weird things like, even at like some point, when the Arab judge resigned and he claimed that, the winner was already chosen. Um, I remember at that time, like my national director told me that there was like this team. kind of meeting for all of the girls' organizations. And during that meeting, the CEO introduced an Israeli judge to everyone and said that he's his dear friend. And it was like this judge had nothing to do with beauty competitions. He was an Israeli from Israel, and he owned like a science type of company, lab science company. And it was kind of like weird. Like he came to judge the humanitarian aspect of the competition, you know? So how is that going to be a fair judgment when my humanitarian work obviously is about Palestine and helping Palestinians? It just felt
Yeah.
very weird. And then the fact that the Arab judge resigned and so many judges,
Omar Harfouch.
yeah. And then even one of the judges after, I know her, and she said that this is so weird because no judge actually chose her. No judge, none of the final judges chose the winner. So I felt that was so weird. And so
But is this was this like is this public information? Like how do people know this? Is this like public? Is this kind of just on WhatsApp groups?
yeah,
Like
people, I don't know if it's in the news. I don't know if it has been in the press, okay? But I do know that it's been on social media. These quotes have been circulating, these allegations have been circulating, and Omar Harfouch even showed proof on social media. But I guess no press has really talked about it. But I will tell you something else that's weird that happened to me that definitely questions the transparency of what happened. And it's okay, for example, I had certain press that wanted to come cover my story, you know, and they didn't allow us. They didn't allow my team to bring in the press that was going to cover me, but they allowed other press to cover a lot of the girls. And then they were asking my organization, like, okay, are you guys okay though if the press also covers the other girls? And then, and I found it weird because this press that was covering me and wanted to cover me, when the whole incident came out, and Miss Mexico walked away, they used this press to talk about what happened, but they weren't allowing them to come cover me. This press wanted to come and cover me. Instead, they used it for a different narrative.
oh, I see.
Yeah. Another weird thing that happened is that the beyond the there was this the voting app, right? So
Yeah.
aside from the finale,
You put up a video about it, I think.
yeah. Yeah, there was a voting app and there were 7 categories. So for example, best national costume, Miss Congeniality, best aura, um best Beyond the Crown video. Beyond the Crown was our humanitarian social advocacy video. And then also I forgot what the other 2 were, but the category that I was leading in was the most beautiful people. Okay, I was leading that. And then after the competition, obviously we're all shocked, like what the heck just happened, but they gave the awards in the awarding ceremony. They gave all of the awards to the girls except my award. They did not give me my award, which I won in, which is very questionable, very
Wait,
weird.
so you won, but you weren't given an award?
Yes. Yes.
Because my understanding from watching that video, and maybe I misunderstood, but my understanding is that you were leading, and then all of a sudden somebody else was leading.
Yeah, so in the video I mentioned that the competition had ended and I was leading. But what they did is they intentionally kept the voting open on just this category. The category that I was leading. So they closed all of the categories, awarded every girl in the other categories, and the category that was left open another 2 days. Why do you have to leave it open though? Like the competition is over. When are you going to award the girls? The awarding ceremony has already happened. So what's your intention of leaving it open? Now, what happened was
But
I
what's
was
your
awarding.
understanding of it? What do you think happened?
I don't know, but what I do know is that thousands of people were messaging me saying that they weren't able to vote and and every time they voted, the application would crash, would glitch. There were certain countries that couldn't vote. Just a lot of the voting wouldn't go through. Nonetheless, I was still leading, you
But
know?
do you think that this was personal? Do you think that this was because who you are and who you're representing?
Well,
That there was
I
a
feel like
way,
that's the only explanation,
right?
right? Like, what do you don't you think that that would be the only explanation? Like, why? Why else? Why else?
But
Consider.
you don't have any indication though.
I don't have indication, but the incidents following up this just makes me believe that there was something wrong and there was some type of discrimination. There was some type of discrimination.
You face discrimination.
I felt I did. I felt I did. And regardless, look, I don't like to go into the narrative that I'm a victim and that, I'm not empowered. I'm empowered. And what I did was amazing and it was a win already because I did a huge thing. I represented in the best way that I can. I wore Jerusalem on the national stage, and I represented my people so proudly, and I probably did get the most, I guess, media media awareness.
Yeah. No, you
And
definitely
I
got a
think,
lot of media attention. But
yeah,
what is it you're saying in terms of what followed? What is it that followed after that made you started to believe that you were
I
getting
feel like
discriminated
I
against?
I felt it was just I felt it was discrimination because the incidents following up, for example, getting the Israeli judge last minute, like I don't know, it was like a few days ago, calling him dear friend. Um, then the resignation of the Arab judge, the Lebanese judge, the
And
fact
his
that
reasoning, Omar, the Arab judge who resigned, his reasoning was he felt that the finalists were already pre-chosen,
yes, and it
right?
was not fair. It was just not fair. There was no transparency. It was already selected. That, plus the whole voting app staying open just because of me, that did not make any sense. And look, I know for sure, this is a fact. I got probably the highest vote in the closed door interview. This was literally 60% of, the scoring in Miss Universe. The closed door interview is like how you speak, you answer questions, the way that you represent your country, the way you represent your people, your social advocacy. This has a huge weight. I got the best. So it does not make sense that I did not get to at least top 5. Like that for sure should have happened. For
Because
sure.
you ended with top 30.
Yes. Yes. But it doesn't make any sense. Like it should have been at least top 5 in terms of scoring, in terms of representation, in terms of just the incidents following up it doesn't make any sense. You know, even the Miss Universe organization at the time, they asked my team if there's a possibility to help them bring Miss Universe to the Middle East or somehow do certain work in the Middle East. And there was definitely like collaboration and they were open to that. You know what I mean? And so and Miss Universe really always said really good things about me. Said very good things about my performance. Um, and you know I just know that the way that I was scored, or if there was a proper transparent scoring, I would have at least had that chance to be in top 5 and say something. But looking at the incidents, looking at that the factual incidents, I definitely think there was injustice, and I don't think anyone could argue that there wasn't.
So it's safe to say you left feeling what? Is disappointed the right word or is it too light?
Okay, look, I felt definitely. Look, honestly, when I was on the stage, and okay, it's great. I made it to top 30. I know some countries, they haven't made top 30 in like literally since the 1950s. Okay. So for them, this is already an accomplishment. It's something huge. And it's huge for Palestine to place that the first time. But my performance was definitely higher than that. And yeah, like I would say that I left feeling an injustice. That's it.
Okay.
I felt like an unfairness. Considering also that a lot of the press that covered me, um, they covered Miss Universe because I was there. And the fact that, they didn't allow this press to come cover me during the competition. And at the same time, they were using it for their own narrative. That was disappointing. Like I would have at least expected, to at least, okay, I get it. Let's say you've already chosen who is the winner. Okay, but at least give me a voice, let me speak in the competition.
Let me ask you about this, because as you're talking, because you're saying that the reason why it got so much coverage was because of you and because of what you were representing. So with all of that media attention that you were getting, how did it feel being in those rooms with the other contestants? How did it feel being there when there weren't any cameras around? How did you feel? What kind of looks you were getting? What kind of conversations you were being a part of? What was that atmosphere like?
I definitely felt that, look, a lot of the girls, they're amazing, they're nice, but there's definitely competition.
Sure.
It's a competition
Yeah,
at
of
the end of the day.
course.
Um, it's funny because the winner, Miss Mexico, she was really close to me during the competition, and I felt like, we connected, and in some ways she even like looked up to me, and she was even saying to me that, you should be the president of Palestine. Like, so I'm like, okay, thank you.
Already gearing up your political career, huh?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, thank you. Like she was like a sweet girl. Like I felt like seriously, like she looked up to me and everything. And I remember having a conversation with her, and I'm like, yeah, there was this brand that she wanted to like go to in the airport and like have a coffee in. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't go to this like place, because they fund genocide. And then she's like, "Oh, okay, that's horrible." And then 1 minute later, she's like, "But I still want to go there." you know? I'm like, "Oh my God." So I kind of started thinking like, okay, like how much in these competitions, like how much is it just cliches and saying, "I want to be a voice for this and I want to be the voice for the voiceless." And it's like, "Okay, but where?" Okay, when it comes down to just actually making actions, what are you doing as a beauty queen? What are you doing as someone that is supposed to be doing something and deserves this crown? Another weird thing is I had one of the contestants, and it was Miss Iraq. She was kind of like always coming to me and talking to me about Miss Israel and saying that, she felt bad for Miss Israel. And I found that very weird. Like, why every time she would talk to me, it was kind of like she was trying to distract me from my goal. And so I felt like that. I think that was one of the, I think it was an emotional moment for me because I just didn't expect it to come from that contestant. You know, it's
Because
just,
of who she represents or what she
yeah,
represents.
yeah, it was just so like, what? Like, I was so taken aback. Like, why do she was saying she feels bad for her because she was so affected by that viral video going on. And then she was telling me that, you know, Miss Israel was really just focused on me the whole time, and she made her life about me while I was really just focused on the competition.
She made a video about you.
Yeah, yeah. She made a video
Uh,
about me before the competition even.
oh, that video was before the competition.
She made a video of me before the competition. I don't know if she made a video of me after the competition. I'm not sure, but like she had already made a context of like lack of peace from before.
There was a video. The one that I'm referring to is that she basically said in the video that you made a post on your social media saying that you basically inflated the number of Palestinian deaths in Gaza, or you falsely represented Israeli children as Palestinian victims. Displayed a map of Palestine, which included the entire territory. Like it was a video attacking you for something that you posted on your own social media.
I think it's kind of creepy how she was like that following up with me and like even screen recording my stories. And like I don't even know, I'm not even aware of what she's posting and what she's doing. So like what does that tell you? Like even during the competition, like there were times where we were taking like group photos and she kept chasing me with the Israeli flag and trying to take a picture beside me. I don't understand. Like I wasn't even trying
Like
to get close.
forcibly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're not trying to be a part of it.
No, no. Like I was standing. I remember one time I looked to my left and she's just there with like the flag. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the other side, literally to the other side. Because I don't want to be put in that position. And by the way, even Miss Lebanon literally told her to her face, like, hey, I cannot take a picture with you because this is compromising for me. And that's it. Mr. Israel understood. With me, she was like following me. Why? Like, you know what I mean? Okay, you understood that when it came to like the Lebanese participant, and many other participants actually didn't want to, because it'll put them in a bad position. So why with me you're trying to instigate something? And plus, it was after that video that went viral. So after
Yes.
such a video going viral, why are you still trying to get close to me though? Like,
And to be clear, because it's important to highlight what that video is. So there was a video that I believe you posted on your Instagram, which, if I'm not
I didn't
mistaken,
post the video actually. I
no,
just
okay,
posted pictures, by the way. Wait,
okay.
actually no, I
So
did
I just
post
want to,
videos. I did
I want to
post a
be clear.
video. But in the video, we were literally trying to not have her seen.
Right, but there was the video in question is the one that she's basically standing and it's looking like she's giving you a side eye or a eye roll
Yeah,
or something like
yeah.
that. And then that video went viral and a whole bunch of people chimed in. But then she came out and said publicly that first off, that video was edited, that it was made to look a certain way when it wasn't, and she wasn't giving you a side eye. She was just kind of looking to her right or just in the other
Mhm.
direction or whatever. But it wasn't like a personal thing.
Because you actually couldn't see her. She was in front of you, so it wasn't like you could glare at her from the side.
No, yeah, it's physically impossible. And also, I'll say I was trying to avoid looking in that direction, and maybe for that reason I was like moving around a lot. She could have asked me. She could have cropped them. She could have blurred the background, but she chose to post them and she chose to not delete them. And so to me, that's a statement in and of itself. And also she chose to have a photographer there, and that's against our code of conduct.
But then she ended up suffering because of it. She kept saying that she got death threats and all of these things. And she said that you had your own personal camera people taking that video when they weren't supposed to be up there, and it was edited to be made to look a certain way. So there was a
Yeah,
whole bunch of
yeah.
things about that video.
Yeah. Well, these accusations, first of all, I'm gonna first say, while I was up on that stage, I didn't even pay attention to her. I was so proud to be there, right? I was like, yay, I'm representing Palestine. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. Like, the last thing I'm thinking of is like, you know, receiving any hate or being attacked for anything. That's the last thing I'm thinking of, because I'm there for a purpose. I'm there about the beauty and to not be characterized in this defensive character. I'm literally trying to do the opposite, to change the narrative about Palestinians. And it just seems like every single time I tried to do that, I was trying to be dragged into some type of narrative where I have to be defensive and saying, hey, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. Yeah, when she was trying to drag me, I guess, into this defensive type of narrative. And this whole thing about the edited AI video, there are facts here. And these facts easily can close this chapter. One, this video was literally streamed on live national television. So if it's fake, then you can easily find that on national TV. Okay. But
Right.
national TV also shows you the same type of videos. That's one. Two, a lot of the girls had videographers and photographers. This is a live event. This is a public event where people get tickets and come watch. Miss Philippines was beside me. She had like maybe 5 cameras on her from her own team. It's not a big deal. Every single girl has certain videographers, has media, has press coming to video, to videograph her. So why is it an issue when I do? Why is she trying to make it an issue about me? 3, my team did not care to edit a video or make it AI. She's literally behind me. Obviously, she's going to show up in the video. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they're taking a video of me. How can she not be in the video? I don't get it. Like, she's right behind me. She's gonna show up. There were a lot of other girls that showed up in the video too, but she was the only one looking in that way and in my direction. And by the way, we do have an even longer video that can prove that this was not edited.
Do you
So
care if she gave you a look or not? Like, what
no,
does all
I
of
don't
this
care.
mean to you?
I
Because
don't
the
care.
on her side, she made a obviously she spoke about it and she was quite public. But what is it? What is all this to you at the very end?
All this to me at the very end is I'm there proud to represent Palestine, and I really am not paying attention to any of this. I don't care if she looked, I don't care if she gave me a look, I don't care if she even has any ill intentions towards me. What I care about is being there proudly representing my people, representing Palestine. And all of this talk and all of these rumors that were caused is so unnecessary and is just against the very essence of what woman empowerment in Miss Universe is.
But do you feel like there was a an effort to kind of to drag you into some sort of conflict? Do you think there was?
For sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Even like 2 days before the finale, like there was like a New York, New York press coming out with this article to try to incite hate. Were they that threatened? They were threatened that I'm gonna win, and they needed to do something to distract me. I wasn't being distracted, by the way, during the competition at all. Like I was like ignoring, ignoring, ignoring. She would make videos. She would talk to the other contestants about me too and tell them that I created this campaign against her in the media. Like she was trying so hard with the other contestants.
So you wanted to stay away from any kind of conflict. You
Yeah.
because you had a goal from what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like not responding to any negativity. I wasn't responding to anything that was trying to drag
Mm.
me, whether it was in the news or in the
Yeah.
competition. And there was a
And
lot.
that's exactly what I want to speak to, because we're talking about what's happening inside. Now, what was happening outside was also quite a lot in that sense. I'm gonna read you three headlines
Hmm.
from different outlets, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
get you to just react to them, really.
Mhm.
But this is also to show what kind of coverage. I mean, there was positive coverage about the historic event, but also there was a lot of attacks. So this is to
Yeah.
show an example of the attacks that you were getting. And so the first one is from the Sun, which is UK based, and the
Mhm.
headline goes: "Riddle of Miss Palestine beauty contestant Nadeen Ayoub, a Canadian in Dubai who competed against no one to win title." And then this is from the New York Post, and they framed it as an exclusive. Israeli Miss Universe contestant fumes over Miss Palestine's terror ties. And then there's a quote: "Makes my skin crawl." And then the third one is from the Toronto Sun. Canadian living in Dubai says she will represent Palestine at Miss Universe pageant. Now, all three of those publications are on the right. They're right-wing
Mhm.
publications. But your reaction to what I just read?
It's comical because it's so contradictory. It's so contradictory. First, they're saying that I'm Canadian or I'm Dubai based or I'm not from Palestine. So there's this argument that they have that I'm not Palestinian, right? And they're trying to prove that. At the same time, they're trying to prove that I'm a terrorist. So what is it? First of all, okay, this is a weak, flaky argument, weak, flaky narrative. And that is very, I can't even get like, it didn't even move anything in me because of how fake it sounds and how fake it is. Second of all, having dual citizenship doesn't make you any less of that ethnicity or nationality. Like a lot of people have dual citizenships. A lot of Israelis have dual citizenships. A lot of Americans are also Israeli, for example. So I don't understand. Like if you're going to argue something, at least argue something that you don't do or that you are not aware of or that you don't agree with. Do you know what I mean? Um, Another thing is it's interesting how Miss Israel actually said that her skin crawls because of that. Because why did she? So we have like a WhatsApp group, right, for the delegates. And this one time when Miss Universe was posting our pictures, I think this was 3 days before the finale, they were posting our pictures, announcing who we are, and they put a little bio of us, of each of the contestants. In the bio of Miss Israel, they put that she served in the IDF, or I would say IOF, not IDF. And in the group chat, she sent to the organizers, why did you write, like she was complaining about them writing that she is an IDF, IOF soldier, a previous IOF soldier. And she said, this is compromising to me. So if you believe that you are not someone that makes my skin crawl and makes the world's skin crawl, then why did you say that in the WhatsApp group? Why did you want them to remove it if you think what you're doing is right and that you're such a angel and peacemaker? Do you know what I mean? And I have proof of that. that she wrote that. And then she comes and she says that I have ties to terrorists or whatever, and the person that I have a tie with or that I know is not even a terrorist. There's no
We're
proof.
talking, yeah, that's important
Yeah.
to unpack too, because we're talking about Marwan Barghouti, who's the Palestinian
Yes.
political prisoner who's currently in Israeli prisons. And the context here is he used to be your father-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah. He used to be my father-in-law, and I respect him. I respect his family. We're still friends. We're still good together, and I have a huge respect for him. And he is not a terrorist. He is a peace symbol for Palestine in the world. He is a Palestinian Nelson Mandela. He is supported by Nelson Mandela, or was, and he is supported by Mandela's family. And
And
his
there's a campaign calling for his release right now. There's the Free
yes,
Marwan campaign, which different public figures have signed, different celebrities have signed,
100%.
calling for his release from Israel.
Yeah, yeah. 200 celebrities have recently signed. And I would like to also point out that when they launched his campaign in Nelson Mandela's previous prison cell, um, a lot of people supported that, and a lot of people were part of this campaign, like Jimmy Carter, Angela Davies, Desmond Tutu. These are all peace symbols. So they're supporting Marwan al-Barghouti. Why? There's a reason for that, because he is a symbol of peace, because he did want peace. He wants peace till now. And he was one of the only leaders after the Oslo Peace Accords that was open to speaking to Israeli government and Israeli organizations about the two-state solution and how to do that peacefully. But then the illegal settlements in the West Bank continued. There were still there was a lot of breachment of the agreement, and it did not continue, and the Intifada broke out. And so he is really one of the only leaders that really calls for peace. And so instead of seeing him as a peace symbol and allowing him to be released, to be with his people and to be with his family, which is his right as a Palestinian, and especially as a parliament member. And by the way, it is illegal to put him in imprisonment. And you know what? I don't even call it imprisonment. Like, let's be honest, this is called a hostage system. It's just a military way of saying it's a hostage system. And um, the fact is,
But it's interesting, Nadeen, because the way these publications wrote about you and wrote about this connection, it was almost as if it's a way not only to discredit you, but it's almost like, oh, they've just revealed this huge thing about you. They've
wow,
just exposed
yeah,
you to the world.
yeah. Honestly,
That's
when
how
they,
it's making it to look.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When I saw that article, honestly, I'm just like, just imagine me like after 3 weeks in Miss Universe, and I'm like exhausted of all the drama. And I'm like done. Barely any sleep. Okay. Seriously. I was like, seriously, I was knocked out. All of a sudden I see this article. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like I was kind of happy about it. Like I'm like, okay, cool. This is a chance for me to actually speak about what's right. I don't normally talk about my private life. I don't like to. Like everyone has a right, right? Everyone has a right to talk about their personal life or private life. Obviously, since I'm Palestinian, I've said this before, I don't have this right, you know? Okay, whatever. One more right is gone. It's fine. We can live with that. I'll continue to talk about whatever they want me to talk about. It's fine. We can talk about it. But even this is not something that, you know, I'm ashamed of or that's bad. Actually, Palestinians are proud of Marwan al-Barghouti, and the world sees him as a peace symbol. So what they really did is they just opened a door for me to speak about another cause of ours. So thank you. Thank you.
Um,
I just don't agree. I just don't agree with the fact that he's a terrorist. Like that's wrong, and they look very ignorant saying that, because now they just open the door for people to be speaking about how it actually is an illegal court system. An occupier cannot have a trial, cannot charge the people that it occupies. There's no fair trial. They don't have fair lawyers. They don't have fair anything. There's a 99% conviction rate. Did you know that not even authoritative governments have a 99% conviction rate? 99% conviction rate. That means like whoever is going into the trial is going to be found guilty. It doesn't matter what lawyer, what evidence, what they're going to say. You're going to be found guilty. And I want to say this as well. They're calling him a terrorist. But what do you call hitting a man in the ribs, breaking his ribs? That's what they are doing to him in solitary confinement. They broke his ribs. They cut off his ear. They put him in solitary confinement for way longer than is legal. Because solitary confinement is 15.
And he's serving 5 life sentences as well, like since 2002.
Illegally. Okay, this should not. It's not. Even Israeli and Jewish organizations, they've said that this is an illegal. It's an illegal military court. It's an illegal conviction. He does not recognize it as a fair trial. The Interparliamentary Union lawyers that watch his trial also say that it is unfair and illegitimate. The Interparliamentary Union. It's against the Fourth Geneva Act as well. It's against every single humanitarian organization, what is happening. And now, aside from all these facts and all these legal and law rules, let's also look at the human aspect of it. Because I also can give you the human side of it. I can show you the human story of it, and not only why it's illegal and why in the books it's illegal. Imagine his children not seeing him for 23 years. Imagine even when they get visits, which is God knows every how many years, they're talking to him behind a glass window with a phone. Imagine his wife that hasn't been properly seeing him for 23 years. And all she has done in her life is just focus on this campaign to release him. You know, she had so much hope for his release with the hostages. And imagine after these 2 years of her having all these high hopes, finally, my husband is coming home. Finally, I'm going to have my man in my home with my kids, just having a family dinner. Having a cup of coffee in the morning with your husband. She can't have that. Imagine feeling so close and then that being stripped. It's devastating. It's devastating. I feel for her because I've seen her. I know what she's gone through. I know what she goes through every single day. It's the worst feeling. And his kids, imagine them having to live life knowing that their father right now is in solitary confinement. And God knows the conditions, right? It's solitary confinement. He's sleeping on the ground. There's rats around him. They're kicking him. They're driving him crazy with sounds of water dripping on the ground. Imagine like you're going through life, right? Like you're going to work, you're going out, you're trying to live a normal life, right? Have a wife, have children, knowing that this is happening. And it's happening, not only is it happening, it's happening in a cell, literally half an hour away from you are, but you're not even allowed to go there because of the checkpoints and the occupation. That's how, so close yet so far. This is violence. Isn't this barbarism? Isn't this terrorism? Terrorizing of people's spirits, terrorizing people's families, breaking up families, taking the male figure from the family household.
Do you care about how they would write for what you're saying now?
How they would write about it?
Yeah. Do you care about if this somehow generated another set of headlines? Would you care?
No. Because you know, if you don't speak about what's right, then what hope is there, you know? And they've already kind of brought this narrative on, you know, even calling me that, like, you know, they called me a terrorist. How funny, hilarious.
Bit cringe.
Terrorist. Like, what? I mean, wow. Their PR smart, by the way. Like they know how to make the headlines very catchy and make people believe things, you know, terrorist. I
To
mean,
to
what did I do? What did I do to be that? I don't understand.
How does one qualify?
All right. What are the scoring points of this? Is there like a, maybe it's more transparent than Miss Universe. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. This is gonna go on for a while, Nadeen.
Yeah, like
But
I don't know.
to bring it to some sort of close, what has all of this taught you? This experience, the competition itself, the media coverage, the online attacks, all of that whole package that you just
Wow.
got. What did it teach you?
It taught me how little control we have over the dominant narrative in the media. And it taught me how you have to really be strong and smart to get your voice heard, you know? There's so many voices in the world. There's so many voices in Palestine that deserve to be heard, that deserve to be listened to. Dreams of people, not just myself. You know, I'm just one example of so many. But I obviously have the privilege, and I've been, put in this position where I can do this, and I have a voice, and it can be heard, right? And so I have a responsibility. And that's how I see it. I have a responsibility. That's what it taught me, is that I have even more of responsibility because there's so many people's voices that are not heard.
As my final question, I'm thinking now, you've gotten, whether it's positive or negative, you've definitely gotten a lot of global attention, right? You've gotten a lot of attention on social media. You've gotten a lot of attention in print media as well. What do you do with all that attention?
I want to use it for a positive impact. I want to use it to help shape the world to become better, for freedom, for positive, for people to have, like, we need to focus more on freedom and giving people their human dignity and justice. That's what I really want to work on. That's where I want my influence to go to. I'll be honest, like I've gotten a lot of offers in the past. I've gotten offers to do Bollywood, I've gotten offers to do modeling contracts. I got offers to do like, you know, being brand ambassadors for so many things. But a lot of these things also have you compromise on a lot of things, your values, maybe your ethics. I've had one company tell me you can't even talk about Palestine if you want to be a brand ambassador for certain brands, and I can't do that, and I'm just holding on to my values. And so the only path I can really go on right now is to be a voice, is to focus on making a positive change in the world. That's just the path that's been chosen for me, and that's the path that I'm going to go on.
And we're going to leave it here. Nadeen Ayoub, listen, thank you so much for opening up. I really appreciate that. This was a lot. We went through a lot just now. We went through a journey together.
Yeah.
I feel like I was there with you.
Yeah. No, if you were there, yeah, it was intense, honestly. So, but yeah, I'm glad
we might
that
have
you're
to do a
able
part
to.
two.
Yeah, part two. Exactly, part two. Let's see. Maybe there will be a part two. Let's see what happens after this.
Let's see what happens. You never know.
Yeah.
Hopefully good things. Nadeen Ayoub, thank you so much for coming on Real Talk. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.